Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am Paula Boland, and I run a company called Paula B Coaching, and I have two of the most amazing women. I was telling them when we first got on, I cannot imagine having a better group together to have a conversation about finding your own power and standing in your own power. And we are kicking off today a series of roundtable discussions where we talk about very pertinent issues, particularly around women's issues and women's voice and women's empowerment. We all are here because we have a super passion for helping everybody feel empowered, know their power, know you were born with a power, and grow into it, find it, bring it out, sling it around, whatever you're going to do. And so today we're going to talk about standing in your own power. And I am just super honored and pleased and excited. And all of us love each other very much. And you'll tell as we have this conversation, we may have a hard time, kind of closing ourselves off. So we'll kind of manage that. But we're super glad you're here. This is going to be out on all the YouTube channels that all of us own, all of our Facebook groups, everything like that. Feel free to make comments. Tell us what else you want. Tell us what you'd love. You're going to get some stuff out of this that you'll be able to use today. You'll be able to just stand up proud and go there. Everybody who's on is an expert. Ruby will introduce herself. Mary will introduce herself. And so I'm just going to kind of facilitate. I'll share my story, but I'm going to have them speak first because that's what you do when you're a nice guest. But we're all buddies and we're going to play around a little bit too, and you'll really enjoy this. So welcome to the Women's Empowerment Roundtable. And today we're talking about standing in your own power. And I have Dr. Ruby Bajaj and Mary Tunison with me. They're both amazing coaches, and they'll tell you more about themselves and how they coach and what pieces of information they have that's really great that you will learn from and they will share. So Ruby, Dr. Ruby, I'm going to have you, I call her Ruby because she's my buddy, but Dr. Ruby, if you could start us off and give us a little bit of your story, tell us what you do, and tell us, your own sort of personal empowerment journey, if you will.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Paula, for not you being here, but for me being here. I really appreciate it. This is so amazing. And I wouldn't have picked a better panel for today. So my name is Ruby, and, I have a doctor in front of my name, which is kind of funny because I never really claimed that before. It took me a very long time and many years of self-work, inner game work to really get here today. And I want to share that with you. I am a transformational mindset coach and a business strategist, but I wasn't always. And I say transformational mindset coach because first it started with me. About when my son was 3 years old and my daughter was 9, I went to the doctor one day, and 3 words, they changed my life forever. And those 3 words were, "You have cancer." And for a second there, I was in shock. I was in awe. I was in dismay. I was like, what? Here I was ready to live my best life. My kids were finally, my son was finally starting preschool. My daughter was finally, getting into this whole independent mode where she didn't need me much. So I was ready to claim my doctorate degree as a physical therapist again. It didn't happen because those 3 words changed my life. And it is very hard for a person to face death, but it's even harder to tell your children that you're facing death and that you may not be there. I mean, the once coconut shampoo hair that I used to wash my son's hair with and smell it before bedtime, I didn't know if I would be able to give him those goodnight kisses. Smell that hair. Talk to my daughter about boys, see her graduation. So in that first minute of hearing you have cancer, my life just changed. And it's very difficult to face that type of situation, quite honestly. But from that moment on, I decided that I'm going to give it all I have because it's about time I did. And it was in that moment that I decided that for the first time in over 17 years, I was going to make life about me. And then I did. And I faced many things afterwards, not to say I didn't, but my first claim to my power was starting a company called Superhero Lifestyle. Ironically, a week before I was diagnosed with cancer, my son decided to, caucus with my daughter, and they put a W sticker, a Wonder Woman sticker on my car a week before. So it was really like deep irony. Like God and universe and everyone was just like, you need to do this. You've been trying to do this, and we're trying to point you in this direction, but you won't listen. And now we're just gonna throw you on your face because you need to. You don't have a choice any longer. And so I took it as a code of, or the word from God, or superpower, or the universe. And the ones who never listened, Ruby, became the one who only listens to intuition, Ruby, for the first time. And then subsequently, like as I was going through my chemo, I started Superhero Lifestyle and started helping people with cancer and, get back into their life, get back into the workforce, start their businesses at that time. And it was funny because I never realized what I was doing. And I had helped my husband launch and sustain his business for 17 years, including my brothers as well. And they're all doctors. So I never realized the value I had within myself, because here I was, a cancer survivor, a mom, an Indian girl who was little old me, like I never really thought of myself as a doctor or a powerful. When you hear the word doctor, you think you're a little bit powerful. You think when you're out in the workforce or entrepreneur, you think, yeah, no, that's not me. It's not me, And I think when I first recognized that was when a few of my cancer survivor friends started doing well in their businesses and in their life. And so my dad came to me, he said, well, if you're doing good there, then why not transition? And my friend here, Paula, helped me out because it was yet another irony. I had a landscaper who was struggling in his business, and he came to me and he said, will you coach me? And I started laughing. And I remember Paula was like, why? Why can't you help him? And so that was when I transitioned into $1 Million Mom Boss. So it was pivoting and pivoting and pivoting to recognizing my own power and self-worth. And that's why I'm here today. So thank you so much for having me. And I really appreciate being here.
What a joy to be with you. And your story is so amazing, like all of our stories are. Everyone's story is. And that's what fits us all together in this beautiful world puzzle and this world support and support of women and all of that. And that's what this is all about, is listening to each other's stories and celebrating it, and then supporting each other, from the position of co-creating instead of being competitive. And so blessed to have you here today. Mary, I'm going to have you share with us as well your power story.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. Both of you are two of my favorite people in the whole wide world, and I'm really tickled to be here. So my work is kind of different. I, for 30 years, worked in the nonprofit field. As I say, I'm much older than my hair color might imply. And after I retired from a long, long career in the nonprofit field, which I loved, I started looking around kind of for something else to do. And I got on this idea of coaching, because I had hired coaches all my life. From the time I was in high school and had a debate coach, and then college debate, and then a swimming coach, and just career coaches and all kinds of things like that, I decided I wanted to learn about what it meant to be a coach. And when I got done with that, I said, now what am I going to do? And I realized that I had something profound that had happened to me that I thought could be something I could do for other people. I used to weigh nearly 400 pounds. Now, I was a big kid. I weighed 10 pounds at birth. I was always kind of the big kid. But through a combination of a lot of things, I became what is known medically as morbidly obese. I'm 5 feet 7.5 inches tall. And when you weigh 375, 380 plus pounds, you are really morbidly obese. And I knew how to diet. God, I was one of the world's great dieters. And every time I went off a diet, I regained what I lost and then more. And when you're in the high 300s and you know, oh, I can go on a diet and I'll get this weight off of me, because I had that kind of discipline that I could do that when I really focused, I knew that if I regained, I would be touching 400 pounds. And that just became a bridge too far for me. So I got referred to, my physician said, have you thought about weight loss surgery? And I started talking to bariatric surgeons, and I talked to, that's what the medical term is for a weight loss surgeon, is a bariatric surgeon. That's the medical term for weight loss surgery. And I decided to have it. And I have now lost over 200 pounds as a result of that surgery. And my magic power was knowing that you can go from this to this, live the life you want, and everything that you've ever wanted can come true. Because it happened for me. When you have been a large person, it feels like you spend your life literally like almost caught up in bubble wrap. You can't touch other people, or other people always look at you a different way, or things happen to you that you can't imagine. I was the executive director of an organization, and we had raised $4.5 million to build a new building. But when you do fundraising, oftentimes the donors take several years to pay off those to make good on their gift. And we needed a bridge loan because we needed the building today. So we went to a bank to borrow $3 million, which was going to be the cost of the construction. The bank totally agreed to the loan, gave us amazing, contract and everything. And then the bankers asked to meet with me and my board of directors. And when the banker saw me as a large woman, after everything had been agreed to, he called my board treasurer and said, we won't give you the loan, because if you would hire a fat woman to lead your organization, you clearly don't know what you're doing. And that was my breaking point. And I said, no one will ever do that to another person. So I coach people who have had weight loss surgery to even greater success in their life. Whether people have reached their goal weight and are still struggling, because the burden of that obesity, even if your hip line has shrunk, the burden in your heart and in your head lives on. Maybe you've never been able to get to your goal, and you really want to get to that goal so you can break through that bubble wrap, break through that glass shell that you're in, break through that. I help people get through that and live the kind of lives that they always imagined, but were blocked from. It became really important to me as I went through my process, and I actually did work with weight loss surgery coaches myself when I was going through mine, that ultimately, it's not what you put in here. It's not what the food you put in your mouth. It's what you put in your head and what you put in your heart. I don't really do head surgery, and I don't do heart surgery, but together we can work on those things and create a life that's really magical for people. Obesity is the leading disease in the United States, and it is the third leading disease in the world. And many people think weight loss surgery always happens around the other, but most of us know at least one person who's had it. Some of us know maybe 10 or 12 people, depending on where you live in the country and so forth. It is the largest surgery, or the most done surgery in the United States now. So there's a lot of us that have that disease of obesity. And when our waistline and our hip lines go down, we need help getting past the fat in our head and the fat in the heart. And that's what I love, love, love doing, and create change for people. So that's kind of what my story is. And I love working with women. I work exclusively with women, and it is my why. It is what lights me up every morning. And begrudgingly, I think about what I could have done today as I go off to bed, thinking there's somebody else that we could be serving. So that's sort of my story, and that's what I do.
Wow, I haven't heard that part of the story about the banker and his comment about that. That is just unbelievable. And how amazing is it for both of you? One person, like, you know, a cancer survivor, changed their whole life and didn't just fold into that, and then you know, having those kind of comments and living that life in that way, and then not folding into that either, and coming out, both of you coming out on the other side, and just having this like heart-centered space that you move from, that's passion to support other people and help them, and particularly women, also not fold into what is going on. It's just so amazing. Thank you so much. Well, I'm just really quickly tell you my story.
Yeah.
I told my story recently, and I was on a podcast, and the podcaster said to me, "Oh, well, that's a usual American story, usual life in America." So I was like, "Well, probably is." So I don't know. If we get down to it, the truth of it is maybe that. But you know, I grew up a kid with not much resources, and in fact, I'm kind of, you know, making light of that. We were pretty broke, and maybe broken as a family. And my mom and dad divorced when I was 10, and I went to my mom because I didn't see my dad around for a few days, and I asked my mom while I was playing with my Barbie, "Mom, where's Dad?" And my mom stops what she's doing and looks at me, and she said, "Your dad and I are divorcing. He's not going to be here anymore, and I need you to step in and help me." And as a 10-year-old kid, I took that as, you know, in the kid perspective, that I better get with the program, or maybe she's going to get rid of me too, right? And so at that point, I started, like, you know, just trying to do everything, just take care of everything, do the housework, do my schoolwork, take care of my brothers and sisters. And I wanted to do it all fast. Like, I wanted to surprise my mom and surprise other people that I had done this, and that I was, like, you know, super, just with this, you know, I didn't know this at the time, and have come to realize this underlying need to be loved, and think I could do it through doing. And from that time on, I became this human doing instead of a human being, right? And so I proceeded on, and you know, just was one of those people with lists, with, you know, you got to do it. And I would tell other people, if you want to get out of your situation, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work harder. And I keep doing this. And by the time I'm 30 years old, I couldn't get out of bed. Literally, I could not get out of bed. And I start going to doctors. I start trying to figure out what's wrong with me. You know, why can't I perform? Why can't I function? Because the big thing in my life was what? Work. And I wanted to work, and because I wasn't working and I wasn't producing, all of a sudden I didn't have any value, right, to myself or other people, which was my big fear, super people pleaser. And now I had a lot of success. I mean, I was running like a, you know, I worked in nonprofits, but I also ran a consulting company at the same time. I would often hold 3 and 4 jobs. I would be publishing. I published a curriculum that is still used in the state of North Carolina for certifying people that work in nonprofit organizations. I mean, I just was doing so much at once, and I couldn't function. So I started going to doctors. They couldn't figure out what was going on. I kept telling there was something wrong, because I'm, you know, usually moving and working and doing all this stuff, and all I can do is fall asleep. Finally got a diagnosis of depression. Started taking medication, started feeling better, and I got right back into it. And this time I went 10 times bigger. Sort of like your story, Mary, with the addiction to food is, you know, you got it under control, and then, you know, I went to the next level, right? And so then I'm working, at this point, I'm taking care of a program in Guatemala, a nonprofit program that helps serve children who were in need, and, you know, whatever. I'm running that program while I'm also running an economic development corporation in my city, while I'm also the primary breadwinner, running running also my consulting company. And I have a husband that, for whatever energy I was putting out, he didn't keep a job very long. And so I'm running the household, and I have a small child at the same time that I had adopted from Guatemala. And so much was going on, that everything was collapsing. Mm-hmm. So I found myself, at a later age in life as a mom that we didn't have enough food for me to eat. We were so broke. We were losing our house. I would eat one meal a day and feed instead my son. My husband sort of abandoned us and went to live with his sister for a little while. And then it was just all falling apart. He didn't even have a car that would go more than 3 miles down the road without sputtering out. And despite this lifetime of looking good and having all the things look at me, I have nothing. And one night I was coming home from the airport, and I couldn't get my car to run. And I was driving many miles with my son in the ice, in the storm, and my car kept sputtering out. And I made the decision, this is all going to end. And at that moment, I took the opportunity to make a decision. And I've heard both of you say that same word. I made a decision. And I made a decision at that point that everything was going to change for me, that I was not going to live in this poverty, that I was not going to, I was going to figure out how to be a good mom to my son instead of doing everything for everybody, that something had to change. And so I went on an exploration of what could change. And I found out that I was a human doing instead of a human being. And I found out that being a human being means being heart-centered and working from passion. That's when you're working in being instead of doing. I found out that I, had a lot of value in this world and a lot to say. So I started saying a lot of it, which I still do. You hear me talking too much now. And I started coaching people on what I knew and what I had learned all after I did some work on me to figure out that I didn't have to work all the time, that actually I would do better. And now today, if I didn't work all the time, I was better, and I was a better mom, and I was happier, and I actually made more money, and I actually had more time, and I actually had more fun. And that backwards thinking, I thought it was backwards. I thought once I got to it, I would have all of that. I could have fun. I could have money. I could have all, if I just worked hard enough, one more day, one more hour. And it's a backwards story. And once I learned that changed everything, just like both of you. And I stand in my own power and want to change the lives of other women who are in the same situation, the human doings, the people that have the message of the grind. And I help clients now transform their businesses and their thinking. I'm a business and mindset coach, and I help people through transforming their mindset and their business by making more money. They always make more money, but they start with working less and having more fun. So that's the beauty of that part. And I want to bring this message out to everybody. But my big message is helping people get heart-centered and leading from passion. Because when you lead from passion, it changes everything. It changes who you are, how you think, what you do, and how you serve the world. So that's my story. And what I'd love to do now is kind of get into our conversation here. And I want to hear, sort of feedback for each of us, and 2 or 3 points that you would recommend to people. A woman that's listening to this that say has, a small family and wants to start a business and found out she has a significant health problem, or, somebody that's living with this, label of obesity and not as good as, or like me, somebody who's a human doing, what kind of message would we give them to kind of hit the Control-Alt-Delete switch and love their life and know that they're powerful people and they can make a decision to change it all. So leave it open to the floor. Somebody speak up.
Well, I love the expression you use, and I've heard you use it several times, a human doing versus a human being. And I realized as you were talking, apparently I spent many years of my life just as a human eating. And the human eating was really about doing 2 things: stuffing emotions I didn't know how to feel, did not understand and did not know how to feel, and then trying to fill up a hole in my heart. I really think being in your power or standing in your power is ultimately about self-love. I think power sometimes has this really like,
Yes.
macho male connotation to it or something like that. I will tell you a short anecdote. I came from a pretty standard American family. There wasn't divorce or, anything terrible. But I can remember I don't think I was but about 13 or 14. My mother and I were driving someplace. She was driving in the car and I said, Mom, tell me what self-love means. My mother, who was, I'm older, she was a Depression era baby, World War II, all of that kind of stuff. She started laughing so hard she had to pull over and stop the car, because the concept of self-love was like saying, Mom, tell me how I can get to the moon. I mean, it just had no frame of reference for her. And it wasn't that she didn't love me or care for her family or anything like that. It's just, she was just like, well, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. And so I had to go figure out what that was on my own. I read a lot of books and I did a lot of things, and probably sometimes the most obvious things become the most profound. And we've all heard it 1,000 times probably. When you're in a plane going down, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you try to help anyone else. Because if you're not breathing and getting oxygen, you're not able to do anything. And I think self-love is a kind of oxygen that we have to give ourselves. And it's not because I'm so much more special than you are. It's, I am worthy. Whether you are a religious person or a spiritual person or whatever goes on in that part of your life, you were put here for a reason. You were a gift to the world. And you have to realize that there are no accidents in this world. And least of all when it comes to people who are female and live in this world. And I think that that's such a profound thing, that if we all could learn that better or be aware of that in a more deeper, profound, heart-centered way, I feel like sometimes the world would be a much better place. We would be in a better place. So much better place. I don't know, Ruby, what do you think? I mean,
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think life is about self-love, and ultimately I think life becomes about becoming who you want to be, and you decide what you want. I think a lot of people, including myself in life, we're not really given that, I don't know what the word is, or have that conversation or have the privilege of thinking, who do I want to actually become? Rather than, like, if you ask my son, people ask him, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? They don't say, do you want to be a good human? Or do you want to, what is success in life to you? Well, success is be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, brain surgeon or journalist, or whatever success means in the mainstream media and mainstream social culture that we live in. And I think that kind of, as a young child, we're kind of conditioned to think that we need to think this way or we are not worthy. We are not going to be successful. We are not going to become anything important. And I think within that, when we do become those things, we don't see the value in it because our heart isn't in there. That self-love isn't present because we lost it a long time ago when we lost who we actually want to become. And I think children are the greatest gifts in this world because they say it like it is. If you ask I remember one time I was talking to my son and he was 2 years old, and I was like, well, what do you want to be? He's like, I want to be a good person and I want to help feed the poor. And I mean, the things he was saying was literally like the things that he would see, because when you go to India and visit and stuff, you see people on the street, you see people who don't have as much privilege as you. So he was seeing that and putting it in his mind. But when you go around grandparents or family or social culture, they're like, well, that's a great thing to do. It's a to-do. It becomes a checklist. It's not who you want to be.
Yes.
So I think life ultimately is part of life is becoming that person that you see in yourself that maybe not everyone sees in you, and recognizing that just because others don't see it doesn't mean that's not you. You know, just because other people want to put you in a box, it doesn't mean you have to be in that box. And you decide who you want to be and who you want to become and what value you want within yourself, because that is where that decision comes from, and that comes from self-love. So I think you hit it right on the head.
Absolutely. I mean, the minute you said it, it was like, oh, if no other point comes today from this roundtable discussion, which, by the way, thanks for hanging in there with us. We're just having I'm sitting here right now with just this like thanking and these blessings going out, because this is just so amazing. And if you don't get anything else today out of this, if we don't get anything else today out of this, it is so important to facilitate that and find that self-love. And it's, like the becoming piece is so right, because it's not like you turn a switch and you go from here to there. It does start with a decision. I'm going to love myself. Well, how the heck do I love myself? That was the next question I was going to ask. Is we're all saying self-love, and we know this to be true for us as this heart-centeredness, our heart leading us. But how do we do it? How do you start to, love yourself and, move forward? And I love what you said, Dr. Ruby, about becoming, that it's okay to not have, and again, if you just say, I'm going to, hit the switch, that's a doing. Right? Becoming is participating in it. Becoming is celebrating it. Becoming is searching it out. Becoming is, I don't know how to love myself right now, but I've decided I want to. And I think that self-love looks like this, in the future, my future me. So I'm going to go live into my future me. I'm going to pretend I'm my future me, and I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try out the new skin, the new idea. I'm going to try out, sitting to myself for 15 minutes alone in meditation. And, if I like it and that works, then that's part of it. That's the becoming. And I just love that. I love the self-love. How do you learn to stand in your own power? Isn't it a strange, it's like what the world teaches us. Power is, like you said, Mary, this sort of like slug it out, come in, break down the bar, that power. But it's really the true power is the heart. And it's us. That's the feminine side of us, not the masculine. The masculine side is, and anybody who wants to learn more of that, any of us would be glad to talk to you about it. But, exploring really what's in your heart and allowing it to unfold, because it's all there. We, like your kids, we were born with all of this. No one goes out and is handed power. You were born with power. And what happens from your grandparents to schools, everywhere you go, is we somehow are told, be this way, do this, do that way. And we're taken away. We're turned into beings we're turned into doings instead of beings. And your beingness is your power. And becoming familiar with the beingness, becoming the source of your beingness, loving it into it. I know that sounds very esoteric for some people, but just start to play with it, right? See what fits, see what skin fits. And now Mary's about to die. She wants to say something. So I'm gonna quit it now. We've all got, we're all like, yes, do it.
But let me tell you two things that I do to this day that I learned when I was a kidlet after my mother didn't laugh at me. It was just like, just so out of her sense of the world. One was I learned to talk to myself in the mirror. And I don't mean just looking in the mirror when I brush my teeth. I mean going into the mirror and saying, good morning, Mary, how are you doing today? What's your plan? You look really great today. Wasn't that terrific that happened yesterday? Or I'm so excited to have this happen today. And actually communicate with eye contact with that person in the world or in the mirror. And so many clients don't know how to do that. I have to teach them how to talk to themselves. And I find that such an amazing exercise to watch that, one, to work them up to the point that they're comfortable doing it, and then watching the profound change that happens in their lives because they've not looked lovingly into their own eyes, perhaps ever. So that's an old thing that I've done. And then I think it's really important in this modern world. Literally, I walk around the house, in my house, with a phone, sometimes my MacBook laptop, and sometimes with my Kindle, as though I live in a small house. I don't need all those things in my hand all the time. It's just sort of ridiculous. But we live in this world where we're so distracted all the time.
Yes.
What's happening on Facebook? What's happening on Instagram?
Yes.
CNN, right? You know, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I think that part of being rather than doing is take 5 minutes a day and sit quietly.
Yes.
And meditation can be a hard word for people because it's like, well, I don't know, and I'm not sure what that means. But to just sit quietly and breathe will introduce you to this magical creature that lives inside you.
Yes.
And her name is, or his name is, you know, kind of thing. And we sometimes forget who that is.
Yes.
I really believe that is the truth. And I know when I have a really busy day, to finally just sit and put all the devices away and there's no TV on the wall, all of that sort of stuff, and just sit. Oh, that feels really special. That's a different feeling than I had for the previous 12 hours or whatever that timeline is.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ruby?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, in our household, that is one thing we do every day is meditation and gratitude. And we do it with the kids. And what we like to do is recognize the 3 things that we see in ourselves in that day that are amazing.
Yes.
And we're proud of, and 3 things in each person and in the day of what we're proud of and what we noticed, because that changes how you think about your day. It changes how you think about you as a person. A lot of times we get caught up in the, oh my God, I wasn't good enough. Oh, I didn't look as good. Oh my gosh, they look so pretty. You get into this, competitive zone of, I could be better. They're better than me. But the truth is that's an inspiration to become better. You can use it as an inspiration, as a motivation. And a lot of times we lose sight of who we are in searching for ourselves and others. And that awareness in meditation, it brings you into a level of, I call connection with universe, because it's funny because we call it the IGG. My kids call it the IGG, the inner guru, because it's the inner guru guidance. They were like, well, what is this? Because we have like gurus in our culture, in our religion. And so my kids, ever since they were little, they used to be like, they love Santa Claus because we were raised here, in California, born and raised. And so connecting the universe, nature, with our substance of being human into what we as a society do, that's a very difficult connection to make for people.
Yes.
When you can connect this to this to this, then you can kind of see the whole picture and start living your best life and becoming or recognizing who you want to become. That silhouette even of who you want to be. And I think that's a very powerful learning for anyone to be able to strive for and to gain in life, because I think life is about being human, not just human beings, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And, there's so much good coming out of here. And it's just what a miracle to be talking with you all and how this is all coming together. But yeah, that gratitude piece too. So how do you do the self-love thing? I mean, talking to yourself in the mirror, like you said, it's the process of becoming. So you try things out, you hear something from somebody. That's why we're here. We're not telling you what exactly your prescription is. What we're doing is sharing things that we've learned, that we've tried over the years, and then you try it out and become, and see how it fits with your heart, see how it fits with your, that silhouette, right? And what I tell people sometimes to do is to really like watch yourself as you are right now. Like, you know, you want to watch like what do you want to change? What do you like? What's going on? What are you bored with? You know, just watch yourself right now. And then what you can say is, what do I want to be? What does my future self want to look like? What do I want my future income to be, my business, my life, my loving myself, whatever it is. And then you can see, like, kind of start to imagine yourself into it, like the silhouette, and take it on, take that skin on and be it. Speak the words your future self would speak. Live the way your future. I mean, one of the things that I think about my future self, and I was just thinking about this morning, is that I want to be in like all these flowy clothes, right? They're, you know, I don't like stuff that grabs me and so I want to be like one of those flowy clothed women. I don't have any flowy clothes. And so this morning I was thinking about my future self, and I was like thinking about like, what is she going to look like? How's she going to move? All that. And I was like, oh, the flowy clothes. I was like, I got to go get a flowy clothes. I mean, that's part of my future self. I need a flow shirt, you know? So some of that is just becoming what feels good, what feels right. And it's also the gratitude of where you are today too. The gratitude will bring you back into heart space. And the gratitude will also bring some of that stuff to you that you want. And gratitude, like you two and me too as well, for our journeys. Gratitude for what we've experienced, and not, you know, I hear so many people today with what's going on right now, and we can't really mention it because, you know, some social media sites will take stuff down if we do, but with what's going on right now, there's a conversation of, if this wouldn't have happened, my life would be like this. You know, because of this happening, my kid can't do this. Because of this, my business is that. And what the other side of that story is, one, we don't see the whole picture. And there's some good stuff coming out of it. And so our stories have good stuff that came out of it. This stuff that we're living through has good stuff coming out of it. But it's all true, part of that becoming, and finding the gratitude in it is really important. So I want to summarize a few points that we've said already, just, you know, for people that are kind of listening and be like, trying to get all this straight because there's so much coming on. Did you want to say something else? Yes. Yeah.
Just quickly, because I think a lot of times when you were saying like get that, you know, that flowy dress and stuff, I think a lot of times we fear what others think.
Yes.
And we forget that it doesn't matter what others think. You know, and understanding that what serves you, they cannot see. You know, I remember like my dad, whenever I talk about my dreams, he's like, you're always like La La Land, always in
I hear that all the time.
But Why Zone. And, you know, that was my nickname, La La Land and But Why Zone.
But why? Yeah.
I learned to dream big when I was little because it was my imagination. That was one thing I could control, was how I thought and what I wanted in life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times what stops us is we're like, well, I don't want to get that dress because they're not going to think I look good in it. Or, well, that's only for CEOs, or that's only for this type of person, or that's only for that type of person. I'm not that person. And we forget that we can become who we want to become.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to add that. So don't be afraid.
There is a great quote about other people's opinion of you is none of your damn business.
I love that.
It's really straightforward about it. And we're human beings. We all have moments of like, what will my mother-in-law say about that? Or, you know, whatever that kind of, you know, I have to look a certain way so that my son's teacher doesn't think I'm a crazy person. Or, I mean, there's a bazillion versions of that. And that, I think part of the love part, Paula, is trusting yourself. So what if you only wore your flowy dresses inside your house and just to sort of see what that felt like? Nobody else needs to know. You know, you don't have to make quantum leaps where you burn all your Levi's and move to Southern California and wear tie-dyed moo-moos for
Rats.
the rest of your life. You could. We'll welcome you. But I mean, you can take little baby steps. Maybe when you hear self-love, you're thinking, you know, some sort of ridiculous version of that. And instead it's just, today for self-love, I'm going to make sure I take time for a shower and put on perfume, or wear that pretty top that I keep saving for a special day, or what, there are little steps you can do that grow the love. They're like little seeds that can grow.
Yes.
Anyway.
And once they start growing, you can't stop it. That's the amazing thing.
True, yeah.
You plant that self-love. And this is the way that I tell people to know if it's, for you and self-love is a lot of times you'll do something like wear that top or eat a little piece of chocolate or whatever. It doesn't always have to be about food, but, and you'll have that feeling inside like, I did this for me. It's like that little giggle that's inside of you that's like, and that's maybe your little child or whatever it is, your inner child, whatever it is, but you know that you did it for you. And then that, just because you nurtured that, it'll grow. It'll become like, and then you'll hear it going, I want that. Can you try it out? And so that's the beauty of all of this, is that the becoming takes over. We don't have to keep seeking. We can become. That's so beautiful once you plant that seed. I love it. And we've given a lot of suggestions today about how to plant the seeds, but we've all come to the conclusion that it's all comes from self-love. The power, the interesting thing is your power is not based on how big your muscles are or how big your, how much you do in life or what your bank account is. It is your heart and your passion and your self-love. It is love. And so we've given all kinds of like information about like how you can do that. Go talk in the mirror, go, talk to coaches, get some help, do little things that make you giggle inside for yourself, sit in gratitude, sit in quiet, right? All of these things are going to help you and help us, because it's good for us to remember this too, right? All of us putting this in together on how to live into our power and how to stand in our power and take it forward as women and as really, I would say, the most powerful people there are. But that's just, me. So anything else? Any final comments? Any final words either one of you want to share, or anything you want to give? Because we're going to keep doing these roundtables, and tune in. If you're watching this now, thank you so much for being with us, and we're going to do it again and give out the next piece and kind of be with you a little bit more. And hopefully this someday will move into a summit where we're all together sharing ideas and teaching into it. But just any last comments you want to make, either one of you?
I think I just want to say, just reiterate what you said. Success in anything is that decision that you make. And don't be afraid to make it for yourself, because you're worth it.
Yeah.
You are worth it. You are here for a reason. You are here for a purpose. Find that purpose in you and let it grow, because that is only going to make you not just a better person for you, but a better person for this world. And people need you. People need you.
Yeah, we were all put here for a reason, and people need us. Yes, and they need our love, and they need our support, and we need our love and our support. Nobody's here by mistake. Ain't no mistakes, like what Mary said earlier. And yeah, it's so beautiful. So freaking beautiful.
I really like the idea that we are all extraordinarily ordinary.
Yes. Beautiful. Yes.
That each one of us, I'm no different than you, Ruby, or you, Paula, or you're no different than me. And yet each one of us are unique and extraordinary and powerful and, living our best life, which is such a great expression.
Yes.
And that's what, and so it doesn't have to, that extraordinary life doesn't have to be a private jet or whatever. It can just be that wonderfulness to know how extraordinary you are while you're just as ordinary as everybody else. I think that there's kind of a duality there that works well for me.
Yeah. Isn't this all a lot of duality?
It's so funny because I always say imperfectly perfect. So that's
yeah.
hilarious that you said that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did want to say a couple more things. Of course, we'll just keep going on saying more and saying more. So we'll kind of close this out and, tune in the next time because, us beautiful women got some things to say. Oh, that was one thing I wanted to say. Another piece to this is get around other people who love you and support you and just celebrate you, right? You want, we all have our families, we all have our duties and all that stuff. And sometimes that's not always the most supportive places. So go find find people like Ruby and Mary and me. We're going to be here regularly. You can be part of this community. Tell other people. You'll find those other people in these kind of places, but really set an intention to find other, particularly women who are living this story of becoming and self-love. It's so important. And it's going to sustain. I mean, all of us, I think women, I have a lot of opinions about this, but I think women are more tribal and work in concert with each other a little bit easier than perhaps men do, because think of us back in the day before our, when the dinosaurs were on the earth, we were like cooking the dinners, we were grinding the flour, we were tending the kids. And so there was a group of us together because we had to do it together. We couldn't do it all, right? And that's one of the things we've sort of lost in our society. We still got it all to do, but we're not in groups. And right now, what can help us, we do have the dishwashers and the blenders and the 5, computers and Kindles and all of that stuff. And sometimes I think makes it worse, but we have those additions, but we have forgotten the relational nature maybe sometimes. And that relational nature of women is so healing. So I would encourage you to take all of these, sentences, these steps, these ideas of gratitude, sitting in quiet, loving yourself, giggling to yourself about what you're doing and what you're giving. And by the way, I want to say one more thing about, being afraid what people think. One of the things that really helped me with that, because, human doing, people pleaser, that's me, that was me, is people are everyone is so much more concerned about themselves and what everybody thinks about them that they're not really looking at you. It's kind of a little bit of a blessing. They really don't even notice. I mean, on purpose, I have tested it out and worn like 2 different socks or, those kind of things or whatever. And unless it's like 2 colors that are really different, people don't even notice because they're so busy looking at themselves. And if they do notice, the conversation will go back to how they look for the day. So you have a little bit of a gray area there that you can use when you're worrying about what other people think. What they're thinking is about themselves. So wanted to give those, the pointers and the summary, and just, gratitude, sitting quietly for yourself. Know that you are a work of art that's becoming, and it's okay to become. Use those little giggles to give to yourself, just little ways. Know that you're planting seeds. Know that you were born with power and beauty, and that, find other people that are going to find that in you and celebrate that in you. Like, these are 2 women in my life that do this for me literally every day. And find your tribe. We're relational people and we're going to grow it, but you've got to, if you plant a seed, you've got to take care of the seed or it might dry up or go away. So the relational nature is the water and the good soil. So you want to have that as you continue to grow and stand in your power. We want to tune in with you. We want to hear what you've got to say. Please note your questions in the comments, like this video, share it, tell other women, get other people going. There's a vibe in this tribe. And I want to thank you guys so much, both you, Mary, and you, Dr. Ruby, for being part of this conversation today. And it's the first of many, many, I know. Thank you all.
I was really honored to be invited. Thanks so much, Paula. This was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you. I'm always blessed and amazed every time I get to talk to you. So thank you guys.
The delight is the same here, Ruby. Good deal. Doing an informal one on this date,